Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, Barakathum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to your Akim out there pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Raya with another video, and I'm going to start it off with Isaiah 55 verse 11. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. And that's the Most High saying that whatever's been stated to happen in these scriptures, as pursuant to prophecy, shall come to pass. Nothing can happen to avert those prophecies from coming to their fulfillment. Chiefly that battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, or that Middle Eastern region, that battle of Armageddon, because you got a lot of people out here praising Trump for saying he's going to pull troops out of Syria, but that's going to be nothing, because it's definitely not going to avert that war of Armageddon from taking place. You can see it as a calm before the storm. You've even got a bunch of other alternative media outlets saying that it's just the U.S. reorganizing its forces so it can be ready for a major conflict. And I mean, Trump said as much in this on this article on antiwar.com. Trump downplays Syria pullout, says troops could re-enter from Iraq. U.S. building new bases on Iraqi side of Syrian border. Making his first overseas visit to a war zone on Wednesday in Iraq, President Trump sought to downplay last week's announced pullout from Syria, saying it has been overstated and that U.S. troops could easily re-enter Syria whenever he felt it was necessary. In arguing that point, Trump said that the base he was visiting in western Iraq could well serve as a base for future invasions of eastern Syria, from which the U.S. is about to extricate itself. And shortly after this overseas visit that Trump made, as it says on this debkafile.com article, shortly after Trump leaves Iraq, attack on U.S. embassy. Just hours after U.S. President Donald Trump flew out of the U.S. al-Assad base in western Iraq, the U.S. embassy in Baghdad's Green Zone came under attack on Thursday morning. Witnesses reported that a series of explosions were followed by a mortar attack in the vicinity of the embassy building. The U.S. Marines guarding the embassy compound shut all the entrances to the building and fired warning shots. This attack was staged either by ISIS, which is just an Israeli and U.S. mercenary army, which regularly plagues the Iraqi capital with terrorist attacks, or the pro-Iranian Iraqi Shiite militias, which are dedicated to driving U.S. forces out of the country. And in that anti-war article, Trump said that the U.S. could easily re-enter Syria from Iraq if need be. So think about it like this. A perfect reason to do so would be a Israeli attack on Iranian forces in Syria, which would draw the U.S. in because the U.S. is a lapdog of Israel, or another supposed false flag attack like a chemical weapons attack or a Iranian attack on Israel from forces in Syria. And I'm going to go to Ecclesiastes 7:13. Consider the work of the Most High, for who can make that straight which he hath made crooked? Again, so shall my word that goeth forth out of my mouth, it shall not return unto me void. So nobody can make that straight which the Most High has made crooked, or avert his prophecies from coming to their fulfillment, because we're all just puppets to the Most High. This is his movie. He's the director. But now I'm going to go to a article on zerohedge.com to show that all the moves Trump's making behind the scenes are leading towards a major war with Iran, which is the linchpin of the U.S.'s policy in the Middle East, that project for a new American century. But first and foremost, again, it's all through the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, because once that war with Iran starts, that's just going to be also the start of that war of Armageddon, that battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. On Thursday, President Trump announced via Twitter that Secretary of Defense James Mad Dog Mattis would be retiring in February, and that a replacement for Mattis would soon be named. Mattis's departure had been the subject of speculation since late June, and when it was reported that Mattis was already being kept out of the loop on major administration decisions, such as the unilateral withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal, which Mattis has supported keeping intact, rumors of Mattis's exit as the Pentagon's top official were then revived in September when it was reported that Trump was actively discussing his replacement. General Jim Mattis will be retiring with distinction at the end of February after having served my administration as Secretary of Defense for the past 2 years. During Jim's tenure, tremendous progress has been made, especially with respect to the purchase of new fighting. I'm going to skip around in this article just to get to the meat. While Mattis was by no means a hero, it was almost a given that his replacement will be far more pro-war and pro-intervention than the outgoing Secretary of Defense, who was nicknamed Mad Dog for leading the U.S. attack on Iraq's Fallujah in 2004. Indeed, back into September, and now following news of Mattis's resignation, the top contenders for the top position at the Pentagon are now being named, including Senator Lindsey Graham and David Petraeus. However, a source close to the president cited by Fox News, Trump's news outlet of choice, insists that the most likely candidates for Mattis's posts are senior Tom Cotton and retired General John Jack Keane. And as we get into these two people, I endorse either one of them getting into that position because they've got the tools to get the job done. The lesser of two very evil evils. Tom Cotton, in his relatively short term as a senator, has gained a reputation for being extraordinarily hawkish, particularly regarding Iran. A longtime critic of the Iran nuclear deal, Cotton was one of the authors of a controversial letter to Iran during negotiations that was described by the Baltimore Sun as telling Tehran to prepare for war because the agreement could be nullified by the subsequent president. Since then, Cotton has repeatedly called for the unilateral bombing of Iran, which he insisted would only take several days and would not lead to a wider war. Cotton is also markedly pro-Israel and receives over $700,000 from the Emergency Committee for Israel in 2014 and nearly $1 million from that same group a year later. So he's a perfect lapdog of those gutter rats over there in the state of Israel. That same year, during the Israeli invasion of Gaza, Cotton called the Israeli military the most moral, humanitarian fighting force in the world, despite the numerous war crimes it was committing at the time. A year later, Cotton called on Congress to supply Israel with B-52s and bunker buster bombs to use against Iran. Regarding the Syrian conflict, Cotton has been a vocal proponent of escalation for years and praised Trump's decision in April to bomb Syria as restoring our credibility in the world. After Trump again bombed Syria this past April, Cotton released an official statement praising the attack, which reads as follows: "The butcher of Damascus," ostensibly referring to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, "learned 2 lessons tonight the hard way. Weapons of mass destruction won't create a military advantage once the United States is done with you, and Russia cannot protect its clients from the United States. President Trump ought to sustain the attacks if Assad doesn't learn these lessons, and Iran's Ayatollahs and Kim Jong-un might want to learn the easy way. We thank our old British and French friends for once again joining us in defending the civilized world." And he can't even believe what he just said, because that's just a ridiculous statement. The Americans and the British and the French were genocidal empires in their day. Furthermore, Cotton is also hawkish on Russia. Though a vocal critic of Russiagate, Cotton has called Russian President Vladimir Putin a committed adversary of the United States. He has accused Russia of having meddled in our presidential campaign, violated arms control treaties with the United States, invaded Ukraine, assassinated political opponents in the United Kingdom, made common cause with Iran in propping up Bashar al-Assad's outlaw regime in Syria, and cheated not only in the Olympics but even the Paralympics. In July, Cotton summed up his policy as follows: The United States should stay on the strategic offensive against Russia by maintaining sanctions, rebuilding our military, modernizing our nuclear forces, expanding missile defenses, sending more weapons to our allies, and producing more oil and gas. Cotton also called for the U.S. to withdraw from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty last April. The Trump administration eventually followed Cotton's advice and announced it would withdraw from the treaty this past October. However, in December, the administration gave Russia 60 days to return to compliance with the treaty, even though Russia is unlikely to make concessions in this area. Many analysts and foreign governments have warned that the U.S.'s unilateral withdrawal from this treaty would result in a revived nuclear arms race between Russia and the United States, which is a beautiful thing, because those nuclear missiles are going to play a big part in this final destruction of Babylon the Great, which is the biblical name of America. In addition, Cotton has invited controversy in the past for stating that the U.S. should be proud of how it treats the savages detained in Guantanamo Bay, as well as for his claims that bombing makes us safer. He also called for the jailing of 2 New York Times journalists in 2006 for espionage for reporting on a classified government program and supports the war in Afghanistan. Yet while the possibility of Cotton as a future Secretary of Defense is alarming, perhaps even more alarming is the other name making rounds as a Mattis replacement, John Keane. And this is the horse I have my money on. Yahweh willing, he's the one that gets that position. Neocon darling, Keane in pole position. Media reports have cited John Keane, sometimes referred to by his name Jack, as Mattis's most likely replacement, which should concern anyone wary of U.S. military escalation in the Middle East. Keane, a frequent commentator on Fox News, has been described by former CIA analyst Ray McGovern as the go-to general for the neoconservatives, which is unsurprising given his close association with the influential neoconservative Kagan clan that includes Fred Kagan, Robert Kagan, and their wives Kimberly Kagan and Victoria Nuland. One of Keane's many connections to the Kagans is the document Choosing Victory, A Plan for Success in Iraq, which Keane co-authored with Frederick Kagan and was used as the blueprint for the Bush administration's failed 2007 troop surge in Iraq. In addition, Keane is the current chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, which was founded by Fred Kagan's wife Kimberly and was formerly chaired by Liz Cheney, daughter of former Vice President Dick Cheney, another warmonger. As noted by Consortium News in 2012, ISW is funded by major weapons manufacturers and military contractors such as General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, and CACI, as well as lesser-known firms such as DynCorp International. So this guy is also a major war profiteer, so any type of wars going on is only going to fill his pockets, which gives him an incentive to create more conflict, which provided training for Afghan police and has been accused of child trafficking in Afghanistan and Kosovo, as well as enslaving American workers, and Palantir, a technology company founded with the backing of the CIA's venture capital arms In-Q-Tel. Palantir supplies software to U.S. military intelligence in Afghanistan. This may explain why Keane is an enthusiastic supporter of the 17-year-long war in that country. Indeed, Keane's policy position notably benefits many of the weapons makers and contractors that fund the groups he chairs. A committed Iran war hawk, Keane has championed the U.S. withdrawal from the Iran deal and has called Iranians thugs and killers, a little bit of projecting there, intent on acquiring nuclear weapons. He is also a strong supporter of the administration's current aggressive Iran policy, including regime change. Keane also called Iran our #1 strategic enemy in the world. Who can make that straight, which the Most High hath made crooked? He's put the spirit on these Edomites to keep pushing for war with Iran, because once that pops off, that's going to fast track that battle in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. And in 2011 promoted a plan for regime change in Iran involving covert operations led by the CIA and giving money information and encouragement to the dissident leaders inside Iran to use their population to put